Hello guys, it looks like we a little bit ahead and I have some extra 30 minutes or something. I'm always starting my lectures with several mentions. So I don't want to read everything. It's starting from my babushka, which is my grandmother, and finishing with my team in Moscow. But I'm very thankful I met those guys and it was very important for me. This lecture is actually the lecture which been prepared by two people, by me and my friend in Moscow and my partner at CSTM Fonts and Type today. His name is Yury. He's not here today, but he's probably watching. Hey. So we are quite experienced type designers, but most of our careers been on the side of custom projects and custom type design area, and just a couple years ago we started to retail, and when we started that we just figured out that we cannot find a best place for us to sell our own fonts, and the only thing we can do is to start our own distribution project, which is actually quite good for the country, Russia, because over the years we didn't have that much distribution projects there, so it was interesting. And the first and quite important thing was to find and come up with some name. We thought about different solutions here and there until we really came with a name Type today. It was available, it was very interesting, and by choosing that name, we actually realized that, this is the moment when we need to start to think what it is. What is actually type today means. What it means in a scale of usage, how it's changed from the past. What is it, type in 2017? And that immediately reminded to us
many millions of years ago, a race of hyper-intelligent, pan-dimensional beings got so fed up with the constant bickering about the meaning of life that they commissioned two of their brightest and best to design and build a stupendous supercomputer to calculate the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Oh, deep thought. We want you to tell us the answer.
The answer to what?
The answer to life, the universe, everything. We'd really like an answer. Something simple.
I have to think about that. Return to this place in exactly 7.5 million years.
Yeah, so from some of the angles it reminded us this. And to start figure out what is type, we started with talking to different people, and it's not only type designers, it's not only graphic designers, but it's also editors, it's also teachers of philosophy, because we just realized that type is in use, and there are some users, they differently thinking about type. Sometimes they think completely different from the perspective of type designers. So this unsorted observation lecture is based on the conversations. It's based on everything what we actually figure out ourselves. But it will be a little bit chaotic because it's still ongoing thing. We're still thinking about that. But what everything is actually mentioning, this is from business point of view, that type as an industry is a very growing thing. It's growing dramatically. So we're living in times when the fonts appear in interesting projects, appear from incredible amount of sources. We not even know sometimes the designer who came up with some super interesting idea. From the usage, it's also changed a little bit of our type designers' understanding of our ideal user. We used to live in the times when the user was like an art director of a huge agency or publishing house, and we really depend on the level of his typography knowledges, because he could provide everything for his team and his brand. Nowadays, we actually dealing more and more with really independent individual designers themselves, and it's thousands of them, and they completely different. For instance, we didn't even notice how user experience design changed the area of graphic design. So compared to 80 years of graphic design history, for instance, 5 or 7 years of user interfaces changed a lot. And the bad news here, those designers, they don't need any italics. Italics are doomed, really. And it's a fact. I'm not saying that it's positive or negative. It's a fact. So as soon as I'm speaking with designers of interfaces, or even web sometimes, nobody needs italic anymore. Coming from Russia bring me another experience. Last summer, I spent all traveling the country, meeting with lecturers, meeting some designers, and it was quite a trip, I should say. And also, one of the conclusions here is that users are super confused. Really, our type licensing system in general, even it's super traditional one, even we're trying to simplify this in a certain way, it's actually really everyone is being confused by it. So users, we still need to remember that users want to get files quickly, they want to pay super fast and easy, they want to try. It's quite important for us. It's actually one of the drivers of piracy. Basically, people not really looking for how to steal our fonts, but they would like to try it. They have a project they want to put in, and they want to try it. So basically, my kind of advice for the industry is that we need to provide this trial thing somehow. Font stand is a super good thing, but not everyone is aware of it, and not everyone is in. So it would be great to work with that. So, but type still is a growing industry, and it's also very interesting to see how the local markets are really growing into super individual projects. So we seeing the rise of Arabic local markets, Indian local markets, Cyrillic presented here. It also helps with Unicode evolution. Like a couple months or weeks ago, finally the modern Georgian alphabet fully being supported. And actually in the future this could be also provide super interesting solutions for localized forms. Most of countries, as you may probably know, using some different versions of sometimes diacritics or some designs, and it would be great to support that as well. Growing industry is also, it's also kind of represented different by the businesses. So, for instance, 10 years ago, we had a range of different sizes of the companies. So we had a range from the individual designers to heavyweight companies being presented on the market forever or for ages. Right now, it's everything a little bit separated. We have a gap between heavyweights and independent. But we also can look on it a little bit differently. We have like super conservative, old-fashioned collections. Let's call it controlled by heavyweights. But then at the same time, we have quite a lot of independent small studios providing super fresh and new stuff. It's also interesting to look on it from this angle of businesses. That's a kind of example of heavyweights pushing independency to provide some extra discounts. And I can say that I've been there, and nobody happy in this position. So type designers are not happy to provide 100 discounts, 100% discounts, and I'm not sure that the platform is happy with that as well. Yeah, but the rules are there. The only way you can be noticed on my fonts, basically after 50 days, is just if you provided some extra percentages. Another part of this growing and that there's still a tradition of producing quite a lot of multifunction typefaces, like a huge amount of styles, condenses, extended, and everything. But in the same time, the cost of production reduces so much, then it's super easy to produce something super precise, something super minimum in use. I have a quite subjective couple slides to show you examples from the commercial type here. But we keep coming closer to the design point of view. Another thing which we notice is that, which we kind of combined under this section of precision, clarity, with helps of retina, with helps of quite a lot of different stylistic movements, we started to feel that feeling of sharpness, I would say, in some cases. So again, a little bit from commercial type, clean type, brown fox. Line 2. Everyone is pronouncing them wrong. They are not Lineto. They call themselves Line 2, guys. Another quite important section of design perspective is the time of postmodernism, which really enjoy, and you saw quite a lot of slides about that in typography. So projects like that, they still keep coming, and we really enjoy viewing them and watching them. So I should say, okay, operator Hoffler, Chimera, Maria Deriuli, Marian, commercial type presented here on exhibition, Lion, letters from Sweden, and so on and so on. It's quite a lot of projects which prove that this is still ongoing thing. It's super interesting. Some projects we kind of put in a section of, let's call it bravery, confidence, boldness, proto-grotesque, chap, chicken toika, Laguria, briefcase type, Evclid, Swiss type. This is Lino, Radim Peshko, Macula, Ball Monday. It's quite a lot of, not bravery, but it's interesting solutions coming from this direction of design. Some of our fonts, sorry. Another thing is that finally, technically, we manage, we can make now our fonts as complex technically as we would like them to be. It never been that way before, but some of the projects are really impressive, and like even 5-7 years ago, our computers will crash. If we will do something like that, finally we can make it, and it's a very nice time. So all those interesting projects, they basically were not possible earlier. Another observation is that actually the time when the pure revivals project been so popular are gone. So we're using more and more revivals for our education needs. But in the same time, designers prefer the most what they know longer. So our projects like this are still needed. But in the same time, we're still rethinking those legacy, and it's also very interesting how the industry is dealing with that. And also quite important that typography and graphic designers actually helping us with that. They also support these trends. It can be quite a lot of illustrations, and earlier you saw quite a lot of very expressive typography pieces already. So I'll just point a few studios out of tons of them. Hort, Kulachok. It's a very nice times. It's very interesting to look on Instagram and check everything, but even in editorial, it's very interesting times to see. Talking to Frank Grieshammer, he mentioned this very interesting observation that we're living in the times of emoji, and it's obvious from one side, but amount of emojis around us, the way how we dealing with them, it's also very interesting. And yeah, this is the epic thing, but we're living we used to be a super hidden industry. So before, actually, no one that really knew us. We didn't have that much events. Now we have conferences in each country almost about type or typography. We have a lot of workshops global, and it's very interesting times. And my advice here is, guys, we need to do that. Yeah, we need to be rock stars because in the history, in the previous times, we've been so shy. We've been so hidden. We need to come up, and we need to stand up for the industry. It's also interesting observation from a different angle again by Frank, that this is the same way the branding works. Nowadays, normal branding is that the users would like to know personally what the people behind the brand, to understand that they share the same values, that this is the same kind of ideological way of thinking. And with fonts, it's actually more and more like that, especially with independent studios, fans and people who would just like everything what the studio does, and it's very interesting. But let's speak a little bit from a different angle about the type today. Believe it or not, but all researchers telling that we're reading more and more. Our interfaces talk to us via text in a way we never probably, even sometimes calendars and so on. So we're reading a lot. In the same time, it's obvious, but users can change the fonts almost everywhere nowadays. But unfortunately, they don't do that. We had a very nice experience with one of our typefaces, application called Bookmate. It's a reading thing. Took it to its collection, and we started to receive immediately the feedback from the users who started to read with the typeface. It's actually a very nice experience because the application is super limited in typefaces, in fonts. Having a custom thing there really highlighted quite a lot, and people started really enjoy the use of the application. But from the other angle, if we look from the archaeologist point of view, our times will be remembered like the times of Arial and Times New Roman. With all respect to the industry, we're producing quite a lot, and we see around quite a lot of typefaces. But the amount of those basic typefaces is so huge that we're not even seeing behind it. Our texts are changing too. We used to live written language is changing. So we used to live in the times of monologues, when you used to write an email and send it to the person, and you expected another monologue to receive back. Right now, we're living in the times of super fast live conversations online. It's interesting point of view to look on this text changing. Also changing a lot our attitude to basic punctuation. It's basically it's starting with this messaging thing. So when I need to talk to anyone, I'm just stop sending messages, and I don't need any period to that. I'm just stopping. So, and by that, it's also coming quite a lot of changes. We're using more and more lowercases. If our application is not highlighted, it somehow differently, and so on. It's kind of, in the period in the end of the text sometimes looks super aggressive. It's also interesting point. Technology changed a lot our way of production. So with the help of version control and open type formats, which can be read by the scripts, we actually can make a lot of huge projects which were hardly possible before. And also brought to the market a very nice practice of inviting script experts like me. I'm a sort of a Cyrillic expert nowadays. I never expected that. But it's true, it's another side. But as example, Source Hans, which is a huge project, type project, was possible just because of the collaboration and this kind of version control things. These days, education is changing as well, type education. So we're seeing more and more people who open the type design by making lettering. It never happened before. So they students force us to teach them lettering. In the same time, we are really forcing them to study scripting because we believe in this. And it's also a very interesting angle of looking on the industry. And of course, variable fonts will change everything in that in a pretty much near future. So this is the illustration from like a couple days ago from very nice project Access Practice by Lawrence Pinney. And the important thing here is that this is just one glyph, one character, in this case emoji character. And the weight of this, together with HTML and CSS code, is like minimum. It's like 4 kilobytes. And it's a thing which will change a lot. We also try a little bit with that. We tried with basic sliders. It happened like a couple of weeks after the ATPI conference in Warsaw last September, and we wanted to offer to our buyers, to our users, to select the weight by themselves and actually choose what they actually buying. It was super successful. It was very interesting to see how people react to that, and it's a very interesting another angle. The idea was always there, but it was very nice to try it on with your own typeface. So coming to conclusion, so we see that type design and type industry is a very growing thing. It's really a lot of things happening nowadays. Together with graphic design and different aspects of design, we're growing, and that's very good news. From a stylistic point of view, we really see a lot of interesting projects in postmodernism and clarity, and with the different aspects of it, and it's very interesting to see that as well. Reading is changing, typography is changed, the education has changed. There's quite a lot of changes here and there, and basically everything will be changed again quite soon with variable fonts when they will come and they will change everything. So I wanted to finish with the answer to this question. Simple one.
Deep thoughts. Do you have
an answer for you? Yes, but you're not going to like it.
It doesn't matter. We must know it.
All right. The answer to the ultimate question. of life, the universe, and everything is 42.
Thank you.